Key Nation, what is going on, man? It's your boy Manuel Keenan. Today, you see it in the title, fam. We're going to be going over how to mix background vocals part 2. I released part 1, and I promised y'all I was going to release part 2, man. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Stay that like button, 'cause we a movement, boy. Let's get it. Key Nation, what is going on, man? Welcome to the channel, man. Make sure y'all smash that like button, hit that subscription and the notification bell if you're new, because I'm finna drop some gems on y'all today, and I think it's very important. I think it's actually really important what we get ready to talk about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it, man. I know I could be a winded talker, but we're not gonna do this today, okay? We are not gonna do this today, fam. We are gonna legitimately learn what we need to learn, and we're gonna get up out of here. You feel me? I ain't trying to make this a 30-minute video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. This is how to mix background vocals, man. And let me at least explain to you guys the analogy that I take when it comes down to mixing background vocals, because I really didn't know how to mix background vocals until I looked up some tutorials, and it didn't really resonate with me except for this one engineer, and his name is Orchestra. Well, I don't know what his actual name is, but he goes by the name of Orchestra on Instagram. He's mixed Demi Lovato for Demi Lovato's vocals. He's worked with, I believe, Pharrell and all of the R&B pop artists. Anybody that you can probably name, he probably worked with him. So this is what his analogy was. He said specifically about background vocals. Think of it as you speaking to somebody in an auditorium, right? You're in an auditorium and they're right in front of your face. This is quote unquote the lead, right? If they're right in front of your face, you're not going to really hear a whole bunch of reflections and a whole bunch of reverberations. You're going to hear them speak directly to you, just like we talking right now. You see me, I see you. I'm speaking directly to you. You can hear me. You feel me? But if I'm all the way on the other side of the auditorium and I'm trying to yell out to you, firstly, the volume is going to be lower because there's distance that sound needs to travel, and you're going to hear a bunch of reverberations and reflections and echoes and stuff like that because we're in an auditorium and I'm in the background. I'm not in front of you. I don't know what that was, but I'm in the background, okay? I'm not in front of you, I'm in the background. So that is the exact same analogy I take whenever it comes down to mixing the actual background vocals. When it's in the background, it's supposed to be distant with reverb, echo, but still present. You hear it, but it's in the background. So without further ado, bam! Look at the screen, man. This is a cover that I actually released, I want to say a couple years back, called Playing Games by Summer Walker. She's an amazing artist. Make sure you check that out. I have not released this song on our streaming platform, so you're not going to be able to hear it. I'll put down the SoundCloud link because I think it's on SoundCloud. So if you guys want to check that out, you guys can. But this is it right here, man. Let me put on my headphones so that we can get it cracking. You feel me? And we're just going to go over this part right here. And I prepared it specifically for you guys so that it could be plain, simple, to the point. We're not going to go over all the harmonies in this song. We're just going to go over this one specifically. So let me play it for y'all. Ooh, hold on.
Whip, bite it, grip, got it, drive on it. Did I ever ask you to take me to go shopping in Perry ago?
So that is the harmony that we are going to be going over, the background vocals, excuse me, that we're going to be going over today. I'm going to break it down for you guys and tell you guys exactly what I did. Now, let me go ahead and throw a little caveat before I get into what I'm getting ready to explain. You always want to make sure that when you have different octaves or different notes when it comes down to background vocals and mixing, that it doesn't go specifically to one bus and one bus only. The reason why I say that is because whenever you apply these plugins, they have different, they apply the effects that they apply on the different types of vocals are going to be different. All right. So say, for instance, you have a low harmony, right? And you're singing the song in a lower harmony or a different note, whatever the case may be, and you put a compressor on there, and you try to do the exact same thing for a higher harmony, but it's not going to sound the exact same because you're singing in a different key, you're singing in a different note. It's going to be different frequencies, different waveforms, different transients. So that's going to translate into the actual plugin. So that's not what you want. You want to make sure that everything is specifically cultivated to what you're singing when it comes down to the background vocals. Now, you're going to see here And I'm gonna explain to you guys, and you guys could already probably see it in the screen, that there's different harmonies, but it's to a specific bus. The reason why is because the fluctuation or the transients doesn't vary enough to the point to where it's like I need to make a different bus for it. Okay, so you see here there's a low harmony and a mid harmony. They're both within the same range, right? In terms of like transients and how it translates to the actual plugin. So having to making another bus for a different harmony is not really necessary. So, but as I said before, though, if you have a low, say you singing tenor or you singing bass, like, you know what I'm saying? And then you have a mid, like, you know what I'm saying? Or you have a high, when you have those, that different type of fluctuation when it comes down to background vocals, you want to make sure that there's a specific bus for each harmony that you have, a lower one, a mid one, a high one, just because it'll translate when you actually apply the plugins on there, right? So that is a rule of thumb. Write that down, take a picture, copy it, paste it, whatever you want to do, just remember it. So let me go ahead and show you guys what I did here. This is the low harmony in terms of what I mixed, right? And let me solo it for you guys so that you guys can hear it real fast. You feel me?
Did I ever?
So that is the lower harmony right there, right? And so we'll just go over it, right? As you guys can see, you heard that reverb in there, right? You heard that reverb, but I have the volume at -9 decibels. It's kind of, I don't even know what's going on right there. One's -9.2 and -9, but you get my point, right? They're the same level, but they're at -9 decibels because they're in the background. The lead is in front of you, right? So you want to make sure that it's in the background. So let's go ahead and go over briefly what I did for this. Now, I did a relatively fast attack and you know, a relatively fast release for what it genuinely is for R&B vocals or whatever the case is. But you know, usually whenever you're dealing with R&B vocals and like background vocals and things like that, you don't want to have a super duper fast attack like what I just did right there at 0 milliseconds. And the reason why is because you want some of that air, some of those transients to kind of flow through. Nothing really hard hitting when you're dealing with R&B, because we trying to cool on R&B. You feel me? We're trying to lay back and relax with R&B. You don't want that hard hitting gut. You know, we're not rapping. We're not doing that. We chilling, we laying back. So that's the reason why the attack is not all the way smashed and the release is not all the way smashed. Ratio about 4 to 1, 4.7 to 1, which is not bad. You know, when you talk about a hard ratio, it can go all the way up to like 8, you know, 9. That's when you really smashing it. But we're not doing that, man. We really laying off the, like I said, our foot is off the gas pedal when it comes down to this, right? And this is a -27 for the threshold, which is not that much. You always want to take into account. It's very, very important that when you dial in these settings for your compressor, that you're doing what you need to do in terms of taming those transients, those high transients and those low transients. You want to make sure that you're doing what you need to do there, but you don't want to squash it, because you want to make sure that it sounds as natural as possible. That applies for not only the background vocals, but your lead as well. So you always want to take that into account. And being at their background vocals, I went ahead and throw up the wet gain a little bit, because whenever the wet gain is literally the signal that bleeds through, and it also adds a bit of dampness, you know, dampness and color to the vocal. So I went ahead and up the wet gain on that. Now, what I did for this compressor, right? This EQ, I went ahead and dialed up to 174 hertz and scooped that out. We scooping all that out. We ain't worried about that. You feel me? And let me show you guys. Let me actually play it for you so that you guys see what I'm doing here.
Did I ever?
So as you guys can see, you know, with the graph, I put it kind of in loop.
Did I ever? Did I ever? Did I ever?
So as you guys can see, where the through the graph on the EQ, that's essentially where those transients, you know, pretty much start and where they kind of seep through. So what I did was I dialed out, applied a high pass filter, passing all the highs, and I'm dialing out all those lows right there, because there's sedimentary elements that kind of seep through and kind of mess with the frequencies of 100 hertz, 80 hertz, and we don't want any of that in there. So we just gonna knock all that out. Went ahead and went to the mid frequency range and listened to it and said, hey, let me go ahead and dial up plus 3.5 dB, plus 4. I never try to go past like 6 or 7, because when you're doing, your regular EQs, you never want to really smash that. Subtle changes, very, very, very important, right? And so right here with the de-esser, hit it negative 29 dB, nothing too crazy. Like I said, smashing. We not smashing nothing. We don't want to smash nothing. You feel me? That's not what we trying to do. You feel me? So yeah, negative 29 dB. I already done did this song, so I mean it's around the same. I don't know where it was at before, but I think it was at negative 29. But we ain't worried about it. You feel me? And that's what that is right there. Now, let me explain to you guys about this multi-band compression, and I think this is very important too. This multi-band compression is beautiful. Okay, this is the C4. And whatever multi-band compression, you can use whatever you have, whatever DAW you're using. But this C4 right here is super impressive. And it's super important for me because it really tames those frequencies. It keeps everything at bay. And that's what I really, really like about the C4, man. And I need to get the C6, to be honest with you, just so that I can kind of dial in and tone in a little bit more on those frequencies. But the C4 is beautiful, and that's what I have. And now look at it. I didn't do too much on this either, I went ahead and went down about negative 39, negative 36 in the higher frequency range. Went to that mid and didn't really dial out that much, negative 19 decibels. And for the low, negative 19 decibels. So I didn't really go crazy. I don't want to squash things. Do not squash things. You know what I'm saying? The gain isn't as much. The range is at negative 8 decibels. So I'm not smashing it all the way down here so that it has. Now the range is how much how much you're really going to take away from the frequency, from that specific frequency. But we're not smashing it. There's no point in doing that. Not with R&B, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I did for this. Really, really simple settings. I'll play a before and after for this too. Actually, let me play a little bit.
Did I ever?
So it's not a huge difference, but it's there. Subtlety is key, right? So that is the C4, the multi-band compression, and then I have this Valhalla on here, and it just stopped on me, bro. All right, Key Nation, we are back. It did it again. It did it again. I literally bought the Valhalla, and I don't know what it's doing. It's messing up on me. Maybe I need to upgrade my computer. I don't know, man. But we not gonna open it up. But just know that when it comes down to the reverb on there, all you have to do is, when it comes down to the lead, when you have your background vocals, you want to make sure that the reverb is sounding a little bit more distant, which means you'll probably have to up that wet signal a little bit more so than the lead, because with the lead, it's right in front of your face. So always take that into account. So with the high harmonies, is the exact same thing. But if you guys notice, this is routed to bus 3 because it is a completely different transient, right? The low harms and the mid harms were in the same range, so I went ahead and just dialed all of them to bus 1. But for high harm, it's a completely different transient, so I'm not even going to try to apply exactly what I did for bus 1 to bus 3. You know what I'm saying? I'm so scared to click on these. But I have the same compression settings for that, just because, like I said before, we're not really smashing the low end when it comes down to we're not really smashing the background vocals to begin with. So you're not really taming crazy frequencies when it comes down to background vocals. Depending on this performance, right? And it wasn't super duper dynamic, as you guys can clearly see where the waveforms are. They're really concise, and they're smushed. They're together. They're not out. They're not everywhere. You feel me? So a tight compression is not necessary for this vocal specifically. But what I will say though is with this high harmony, and what's very important about this high harmony is where this EQ is and where I have it dialed in, right? So I have this dialed in at 434 hertz, and let's look at the difference between this one and this one, which is at 174 hertz. Why? Because the transients actually start around the 400 to 500 frequency range, because I'm doing a falsetto right here. So let me go ahead and solo it and show you guys. So that's the falsetto, right? So, and you guys saw right here where the actual note started. So I went ahead and dialed out all of that gook and all of that low end and everything like that towards the low end, because we don't need that, right? So that's what I did specifically for that. I'm pretty sure the de-esser is the same thing. Yeah, it's not like a huge tweak. C4, exact same thing. Like I said, they're not smushed, right? It's not super duper smushed. It's not a super duper dynamic performance or whatever the case is. So we went ahead and laid off on what we're doing, but subtle differences are very important. I am not gonna go into this Valhalla, because if I do, it is going to go off on me. But that's super important, you guys, when it comes down to the harmonies and your high harmonies and everything like that. You always want to make sure that you have a different bus when it comes down to it, and you mix it differently. As you guys can see, I went ahead and the volume is lower too as well, just so that you can hear the falsettos, but they're not the only thing you hear, right? Because when it comes down to actual chords and notes, you want to make sure that everything is blending naturally, perfectly, and together. You feel me? So let's go ahead and play it one more time. Let me actually
Up on it. Did I ever ask you to up on it?
hold up.
Up on it. Did I ever ask you to take me to go shopping in Paris?
So that is it right there, man. Thank y'all so much for tuning in with me. If y'all like this tutorial, make sure y'all smash that like button, share it to all your other aspiring engineers out there, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next video, fam. Gang!